An alien lord sent me a mysterious gift. Inside was a living alien girl. The cosmic package. Nikolai Volkov stared at the ceiling of his lunar habitat, counting the familiar cracks in the polymer coating for the 1,000th time. After 15 years of military service in the United Earth Defense Force and another 5 as a private contractor, retirement on lunar colony Artemis had seemed like paradise. 6 months in, the silence was driving him mad. The unexpected buzz of his habitat's communication system startled him from his thoughts. Delivery for Habitat Unit 37B, Resident Volkov, announced the automated voice. Please acknowledge receipt. Nikolai frowned. He hadn't ordered anything, and his monthly supply drop wasn't scheduled for another week. Identity verification required, the system persisted. Volkov, Nikolai Andrei. Engineering Corps, retired. Authorization Delta 739. The outer airlock hissed open, and Nikolai reached for the pulse pistol he kept hidden beneath his console. Old habits died hard. The delivery drone deposited a cylindrical container roughly 2 meters long and a meter wide, much larger than any standard supply package. The container bore unfamiliar markings and a glowing authentication panel with script he couldn't decipher. Package delivered. Have a pleasant day, Resident Volkov, the system chirped before the drone retreated and the airlock resealed. Nikolai approached the container cautiously. His scanner revealed no explosives or obvious threats, but the material was blocking detailed internal scans. A small data crystal protruded from one end of the container. What the hell, he muttered, inserting the crystal into his reader. A holographic image flickered to life, a reptilian humanoid wearing elaborate ceremonial armor. The being's scales shimmered with iridescent patterns that shifted as it moved. Greetings, honored warrior Nikolai Volkov, the being said in accented but clear standard English. I am Commander Tyzak of the Draconian Imperial Fleet. You may not remember me, but 3 standard years ago, your engineering team saved my vessel from catastrophic reactor failure during the Oran border dispute. Nikolai remembered. His team had been dispatched to assist a disabled alien vessel despite the ongoing tensions. Standard humanitarian protocol, but the mission had nearly cost them their lives when the reactor almost went critical. The debt of life is sacred among my people, the commander continued. I have searched long to find a gift worthy of your courage. Within this container, you will find a companion of rare value, a Lumidian empath. These beings are prized throughout the galaxy for their beauty, intelligence, and their ability to sense and soothe emotional distress. She will serve you faithfully and bring harmony to your dwelling. To activate the stasis field, simply place your palm on the authentication panel. The message ended, leaving Nikolai staring at the container in disbelief. A living being. As a gift? The concept was repugnant to him. Still, if there was truly someone in stasis inside, they might need medical attention. Reluctantly, he placed his palm on the panel. The container hummed, sections separating and folding outward like a mechanical flower blooming. Inside, floating in a luminescent suspension field, was a humanoid female. Her skin was a pale blue with subtle patterns that seemed to shift like ripples on water. Long silver-white hair framed delicate features, and her eyes were closed as if in peaceful sleep. The suspension field dissolved, and Nikolai barely managed to catch her as she collapsed forward. She was lighter than he expected, almost weightless in the lunar gravity. Her eyes fluttered open, entirely silver, with no visible pupils or irises, and fixed on him. A wave of calm washed over him, so sudden and powerful that he nearly dropped her. Forgive me, she said, her voice musical and strangely resonant. I did not mean to project so strongly. I am still weak from stasis. Nikolai helped her to a sitting position on his couch. Who are you? What's your name? I am called Lyra, she replied. And you are Nikolai Volkov, the one to whom I have been gifted. She spoke the last word with a subtle distaste that matched his own feelings on the matter. Look, Lyra, I don't know what Commander Tyzak told you, but I don't want or need a servant or companion or whatever he thinks I need. A faint smile touched her lips. The commander told me nothing. I was already in stasis when he acquired me. She looked around the habitat curiously. Is this Earth? It feels lighter. Lunar colony Artemis. Earth's moon. Lyra nodded, taking this in stride. I have heard of Earth. Your species is still relatively new to interstellar society. And apparently behind on some ethical considerations, Nikolai muttered. Where I come from, sentient beings aren't given as gifts. Nor where I come from, Lyra said softly. But circumstances change. Sometimes adaptation is necessary for survival. Something in her tone made Nikolai look closer. Behind the serene facade, he sensed a wariness, a careful assessment of her situation. She wasn't what she appeared to be, or rather, not only what she appeared to be. You arranged this, didn't you? He asked suddenly. Somehow, you engineered being sent here. Lyra's silver eyes widened slightly, then she inclined her head in acknowledgement. You are perceptive for a human. Most are too distracted by my appearance to notice such things. I was a combat engineer for 20 years. Noticing details kept me alive. He crossed his arms. So why don't you tell me the truth? Why are you really here? Lyra's calm demeanor faltered. My people, the Lumidians, are hunted throughout the galaxy for our empathic abilities. We can sense emotions, yes, but also influence them in ways that make us valuable as tools. Interrogators. Persuaders. Living lie detectors. She looked down at her hands. I escaped captivity 6 standard months ago and have been searching for sanctuary ever since. And you chose me because you helped an enemy when protocol said you should not. Because you risked your life for beings unlike yourself. She met his gaze directly. Because your emotional signature when I reached out was one of loneliness and honor in equal measure. I need someone who will not betray me for profit, and you need something to protect again. Nikolai was taken aback by her directness. You've been reading my emotions? From how far away? Distance is less relevant than connection. Once I focused on you, after learning of your interaction with Commander Tyzak, I could sense you across significant space. Nikolai paced the small habitat, considering her words. So you manipulated the commander into delivering you to me? As what, a refugee? As someone seeking asylum, yes. Lyra's voice remained calm, but Nikolai could see tension in her posture. I understand if you wish to report this deception. I only ask that you consider the consequences. Those who hunt me will not be gentle in their retrieval methods. Nikolai ran a hand through his short gray hair. His quiet retirement had just become considerably more complicated. I'm not going to report you. But I need to know what I'm getting into. How dangerous are these people looking for you? Relief washed over Lyra's features. Thank you. The hunters are persistent and well-equipped, but not immediately aware of my location. The stasis container was shielded against tracking. We should have time to prepare. Prepare for what, exactly? For me to move on, or? She hesitated, for us to establish a more permanent arrangement. I have skills beyond my empathic abilities. I could be useful to you. Nikolai sighed. Let's start with getting you settled. Are you hungry? Do you need medical attention? Lyra smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her face. Food would be welcome. And perhaps information about your world. If I am to blend in, I should understand human customs. As Nikolai prepared a meal from his limited supplies, he found himself explaining lunar colony protocols, Earth politics, and human social norms to his unexpected guest. Lyra absorbed information with remarkable speed, asking insightful questions that revealed a keen intelligence. By the time they finished eating, Nikolai had made a decision. You can stay, at least until we figure out something better. But no mind manipulation, understood? And we'll need a better cover story than gift from a draconian commander. Agreed, Lyra said solemnly. Perhaps I could be a research assistant. Your credentials would support such an arrangement. Nikolai nodded slowly. That might work. We'll need to get you registered with the colony administration, which means paperwork and questions. I am accustomed to questions, Lyra said with a wry smile. And you will find I am an excellent study of character. I can be very convincing when needed. As the lunar night cycle began and the habitat's lights dimmed automatically, Nikolai showed Lyra to the small spare room he had never expected to use. Watching her examine the simple human furnishings with fascination, he wondered what he had gotten himself into. Yet for the first time in months, the silence of his habitat didn't seem oppressive. There was purpose again, someone who needed his protection, a problem to solve. It wasn't the retirement he had planned, but as he bid Lyra goodnight, Nikolai realized he wasn't upset about this unexpected turn of events. Perhaps they both had something the other needed. Hunters in the void. One lunar month after Lyra's arrival, Nikolai's habitat had transformed. What was once a Spartan dwelling now featured strange crystalline sculptures that refracted light in hypnotic patterns, walls adorned with Lyra's abstract paintings depicting emotions rather than concrete images, and planters filled with rapidly growing lunar-adapted flora she had engineered from his meager botanical supplies. More significant was Nikolai's own transformation. The nightmares that had plagued him since the Titan uprising had subsided, and for the first time in years, he slept soundly. Lyra never admitted to using her empathic abilities to help him, but some mornings he caught her watching him with knowing silver eyes. Your nightmares are quieter now, she commented over breakfast, stirring a vivid blue nutrient paste she'd concocted. Your mind heals itself. I merely removed obstacles. Nikolai grunted noncommittally. Their arrangement remained complicated. Officially, Lyra was registered as his research assistant, helping develop new hydroponic systems for lunar agriculture. Unofficially, they had settled into an easy companionship that neither discussed too deeply. I've been thinking, he said, changing the subject. We should arrange transport off Artemis. Staying in one place too long isn't safe for you. Lyra stiffened, her spoon freezing halfway to her mouth. They've found me. It wasn't a question. Nikolai reached instinctively for the pulse pistol at his hip. How close? Very. Lyra's eyes unfocused slightly, her attention turning inward. Something has activated in my bioimplants. A tracking signal. I didn't know, she pressed a hand against her temple, wincing. 3 hunters. Already in orbit. They're requesting docking permission. Nikolai was already moving, securing the habitat's entry points with practiced efficiency. What kind of weaponry can we expect? Neutralizer fields. Pulse disruptors. Nothing that will damage their merchandise. The bitterness in her voice was palpable. Nikolai, you should leave. This is my battle. Like hell it is. He pulled a hidden panel from the wall, revealing a cache of military-grade equipment that technically shouldn't have been in a civilian habitat. I didn't spend 20 years in combat zones to run from a few bounty hunters. Lyra watched him with a mixture of surprise and something deeper. You would fight for me? Knowing the risk? I'd fight for anyone being hunted like an animal. He tossed her a personal shield generator. Know how to use one of these? Her slender fingers moved over the device with unexpected familiarity. My people are pacifists by nature, but necessity taught me certain skills. A proximity alert blared through the habitat, followed by the colony administration's automated voice, "Attention Resident Volkov. Unscheduled visitors have requested access to your habitat. Security protocols require your authorization. Stall them," he instructed the system. Request identification verification. Full biometric scan. That will only delay them briefly, Lyra said, her silver eyes darkening to stormy gray. They have override codes for most standard security systems. Nikolai grinned, the old pre-combat adrenaline warming his blood. Good thing my security isn't standard. Combat engineers get creative. He led Lyra to his workshop, where components of various mechanical projects littered the surfaces. Grabbing what looked like an ordinary wrench, he twisted the handle and the floor beneath them slid open, revealing a narrow passage downward. Emergency evacuation tunnel, he explained. Connects to the maintenance corridors running beneath the colony sectors. Lyra hesitated at the entrance. They'll follow us. Their trackers will lead them directly to me. That's what I'm counting on. Nikolai grabbed a backpack filled with equipment and handed her a breathing mask. These tunnels occasionally vent to vacuum for maintenance. The mask is a precaution. As they descended into the dimly lit passageway, the habitat's security system announced, "Warning, unauthorized entry attempt detected. Deploying countermeasures." Nikolai sealed the hidden entrance behind them. That'll slow them down. The security systems are keyed to my biometrics only. They moved swiftly through the maintenance corridors, the low lunar gravity allowing them to cover ground quickly despite the cramped conditions. Nikolai consulted a holographic map projected from his wrist device. "Where are we going?" Lyra asked, her voice slightly muffled by the breathing mask. "Sector 37. Abandoned mining equipment storage. Perfect place for an ambush." Lyra suddenly clutched his arm, her eyes wide. "They've breached your habitat. They're angry." She winced. "Very angry." "Good," Nikolai muttered. "Angry people make mistakes." They reached a massive chamber filled with decommissioned lunar mining equipment, hulking excavators, drilling apparatus, and transport vehicles gathering dust in the low gravity. "We need to remove your tracker," Nikolai said, scanning her with a handheld device. "It's broadcasting on a frequency my jammer can't block." Lyra's hand went to the back of her neck. "Here. It was implanted during my captivity." Nikolai examined the area with his scanner. "It's integrated with your nervous system. Removing it would require surgery we don't have time for." He thought for a moment. "But we might be able to use it to our advantage." From his pack, he produced what looked like a small silver disc. Modified resonance amplifier. Military uses them to enhance biometric signals for battlefield tracking. He carefully attached it to the base of Lyra's skull. "This should overload their tracking systems, make it impossible to pinpoint your exact location." "They're coming," Lyra whispered, eyes unfocused. 3 of them. 2 Kaldorian mercenaries and the Lumidian. Pain flashed across her features. "A tracker class. One of my own people, corrupted to hunt the rest." Nikolai squeezed her shoulder. "Focus on the plan. Can you sense their emotions from here?" "Yes. The Lumidian will sense mine as well, though the amplifier may confuse him." "Then let's give them something unexpected to feel." Nikolai grinned. "How good are you at projecting specific emotions?" "I can influence emotional states within a 50-meter radius, but it drains me quickly." "Perfect." Nikolai quickly outlined his strategy, then positioned Lyra behind a massive excavator arm while he disappeared among the shadows of the equipment. Minutes later, the airlock to the storage chamber cycled open. 3 figures entered cautiously, 2 hulking humanoids with scale-like armor covering their massive frames, and between them, a slender blue-skinned male with the same silver eyes as Lyra, though his held none of her warmth. "The signal is erratic," the Lumidian tracker said, his voice eerily similar to Lyra's musical tones. "She's attempting to mask her location." One of the Kaldorians growled. "This chamber is sealed. She's here somewhere." "Split up," ordered the other. "Remember, the female is to be taken alive. The human is expendable." As they separated, Lyra closed her eyes and concentrated. A wave of pure, primal fear radiated outward, targeting the Kaldorian nearest her position. The massive mercenary froze, his breathing suddenly ragged. Something's wrong, he gasped, weapon trembling in his grasp. Can't think. The Limidian tracker's head snapped toward his companion. Control yourself. She's manipulating. He never finished the sentence. A pulse blast from Nikolai's position struck him squarely in the chest, sending him crumpling to the floor. The remaining Kaldorian whirled, firing blindly toward Nikolai's position, but the retired engineer was already moving, using the low gravity to leap atop a mining vehicle and fire from a new angle. Meanwhile, Lyra shifted her empathic focus to the panic-stricken Kaldorian, intensifying his fear until he fired wildly, accidentally striking his remaining companion. With both mercenaries disoriented, Nikolai made quick work of neutralizing them with precision shots from his pulse pistol. When the chamber fell silent, Nikolai approached the fallen Limidian tracker cautiously. The blue-skinned male was still breathing, his chest rising and falling shallowly. Lyra emerged from her hiding place, her face pale with exertion. She knelt beside her fallen kinsman, placing her fingers gently on his temples. "What are you doing?" Nikolai asked, keeping his weapon trained on the unconscious tracker. "Learning what I can." Her silver eyes closed in concentration. They were hired by the Kaldorian Biotech Consortium. They're using Limidians as living navigation systems for faster-than-light travel. Our empathic abilities allow us to sense the emotional imprints of star systems, creating safer jump points than mechanical calculations. She broke contact, her expression grim. "They have 27 of my people captive. This one was promised freedom in exchange for capturing 5 others." Nikolai holstered his weapon. "So much for my quiet retirement." Lyra looked up at him, confusion evident. "What do you mean?" "Well, we can't let them keep hunting your people, can we?" He helped her to her feet. "And we can't stay on Artemis now that they've found us." "We?" Lyra repeated softly. "Unless you'd rather go alone. But I figure a combat engineer might come in handy if you're planning a rescue operation." A slow smile spread across Lyra's face, her skin briefly illuminating with patterns of joy she couldn't conceal. "You would help free my people. Wouldn't be the first impossible mission I've volunteered for." He gestured to the unconscious hunters. "First, we need to deal with our guests and acquire a ship. Then we find somewhere to regroup and plan." "I know people," Lyra said, her voice gaining strength. "A resistance network that helps escaped Limidians. They've been working for years to locate our prison facility." Nikolai nodded. "Then we have a destination." He began collecting useful equipment from the fallen mercenaries. "By the way, that emotion projection trick was impressive. Might make a decent combat engineer out of you yet." Lyra's laughter echoed in the cavernous chamber, a sound of genuine delight that made Nikolai smile despite the circumstances. The quiet retirement he'd planned had just evolved into something far more dangerous, and infinitely more meaningful. As they prepared to leave the lunar colony behind, Nikolai found himself oddly at peace with the decision. The emptiness that had plagued him since leaving military service was gone, replaced by purpose and a partnership he hadn't known he needed. "Ready?" he asked, offering Lyra his hand. She took it without hesitation, her slender blue fingers intertwining with his. "For the first time in many years, yes. I am ready." Together, they stepped through the airlock, leaving behind the safety of Artemis for the vast, dangerous frontier of space, and the promise of freedom for those still in chains.